What is up, everybody? Welcome back to SevereMMA. My name is Sean Sheehan. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Will Fleury. Will, I was watching your last fight in Octagon, and you've a new nickname. Tell us about the new nickname you had for the new fight. Yeah, I feel like you've had about 4 or 5 different nicknames at this stage, have you?
Yeah, I've gone through a lot. No, like, what I'm thinking now is, like, they actually seem okay with Will fucking Fleury. So hopefully, I'm going to say it to Andre next time I'm over. If Will fucking Fleury's cool with them, great, let's use Will fucking Fleury. But this came to me a couple of days ago. I was thinking, Will Kung Fu King Fleury.
where did that
If you say it with a bit of an accent, it's not that different. Like,
I like it. I like that. Yeah, that's good. What was the one for the last fight? Was it Big Bill or something, or was it
Big Bill? Yeah,
Big Bill?
Yeah. Just because Asher was my grandfather, was Big Bill, so I was like, fuck it, I'll call myself Big Bill. So that was like, look, whatever. Like, I've had the Raw Bastard, fucking the Raw one, the Lion of Tipperary. I've gone through a shitload at this stage, but Will fucking Fleury's always been the one. So as close to Will fucking Fleury as I can get it now, that's what I'm going to keep it as.
I like the Lion of Tipperary, to be honest. I think that I love a county-based nickname.
It's too long, and most people don't know where the fuck Tipperary is if you're fighting out in Central Europe. You know,
yeah,
so.
But people know the song, don't they? A long way to Tipperary, you know. So maybe. But anyway, tell us about Octagon, because like, I feel like Octagon is like KSW a few years ago, where it's massive, and I feel like people don't really know about it yet. Now, KSW have kind of, I think, turned that corner, and a lot of people know about it. Whereas Octagon, you're going to be fighting, 50,000 people in a big stadium show coming up. It must be cool to be part of that.
It's incredible, yeah. They're saying up to 58,000 now. I've heard different figures quoted, but it's more than 50,000 anyway, which is fucking incredible. So yeah, look, Octagon, I was at the event with Paul Byrne years ago, back in 2017, and it was a class event. That was in a tennis stadium in Prague, and I was just really surprised by how well run it was and how big the production on it was, and, you know, the level of fucking, you know, interest from the fans. The fan base there were big into it. Even like Paul going over there, we were blown away by it. Like, he fought at Tillavey, so he was the main event that night. And even the fans afterwards, because it was a very close fight, Paul nearly won it. But like, he got a massive level of support over there, and they were really respectful fans. It was cool. So from then, I just kind of was looking at it a bit and always had an interest and kept an eye on it. And it just seemed to grow and grow and grow, and they were doing bigger and bigger things. And it's weird that there isn't really that much of a, you know, awareness of it here, but they're huge in Central Europe. So it's class. And like, being the only real Irish guy to have signed at the moment, I kind of feel like a responsibility to bring that over, like, you know, to fucking, first of all, showcase Irish MMA to them, to be like, yeah, we're Irish and we're fucking class, and I'm going to go in there and be high level as fuck and beat the shit out of a lot of people. But also to be like, hey, you guys, there's a big market here in Ireland. Come back, we have a lot of fucking talent. Come on over. Let's show, like.
Has there been conversations about that? Because I was watching a few clips last night, obviously the fights and stuff, and a press conference came up, and you kind of mentioned that, like, you kind of said it again there, you want to bring Octagon back to Ireland. And I know, like, I had heard like rumors of it before, but it never came to fruition for whatever reason. Like, now seems like an opportune time even to bring it back. Consider, like, there's no major MMA shows booked in Ireland at the moment. If they did it in the next 6 months or so, it'd be a great time to bring it back, wouldn't it?
It doesn't feel like that's going to happen right now, but I think long term it's a possibility. So look, the main thing is that I go out there and I smash guys. Like, this is a #1 contender fight. It shows, like, I feel like they're giving me a very big opportunity to go and show who I am and what I'm about, which is amazing. I'm fucking delighted to finally get that opportunity. But like, I also feel an onus to kind of, yeah, we're bringing this back to Ireland. You know, like I said in the original interviews, it seems like when they went to England, they didn't do as well as they thought they would. But they think England and Ireland's the same thing. And I feel like it's on me to show them, no, it's fucking not. You know what I mean? Irish people will get behind their own guy, especially if somebody's going out and doing well. So to me, there's a massive opportunity here. It's just about getting in there, smashing the next guy, smashing the guy after that. I don't think it's going to be soon. I think if we're going to do this thing, it's going to take 4 or 5 fights, you know? But I don't see anybody there I can't beat. So, like, let's get that show on the road, you know?
What was it like? So, and like, you're not obviously not going to come in here and slay at Octagon by any means or anything like that. But when you turn up to the event, the backstage, the people, I know, like, when I tune in to watch, and I've watched a good bit of Octagon over the last while, especially over the last couple of days even, the commentary is very good, the production is clean and all that. For a fighter like you, when you turn up there, and you've been in the Bellators, you've been in the PFLs and all of that, what's it like in Octagon?
To be honest, in some ways more professional. Like the show in England didn't sell as well, obviously, but like when I was in Ostrava, so I was at 2 shows before that, one with Paul Byrne in Prague. That was incredible. Even the backstage there, like from a fighter point of view, really well run, really professional. The one in Ostrava, we were just fans. So it was like me, Derek Kelly went over, we were like VIP fans. That was a class experience. So the food there was fucking incredible. There was free beer. It was a great night.
I'm coming next time.
Yeah, like, no, but like, honestly, like, I've been to a good few MMA events as a fan, and that was by far my favorite. And I'm not just saying this because I'm signed with the lads now, but like, it's a different atmosphere a little bit as well. They're selling something a little bit like, they treat it more like a day out than, you know, basically MMA in Ireland, England, or most of the world that I've been to anyway. It's kind of like you're showing up to watch lads kick the shit out of each other. They're promoting the violence. They're promoting the like primal aspect of it. Whereas they're selling it more as like, this is an experience for a few hours. Show up, enjoy yourself. There'll be a bit of friendly. Like they have a guy in a monkey suit shoot t-shirts into the crowd, and it's a different buzz. So like, I don't know. I don't think that kind of translated over to England and Ireland quite as well. You know, because mostly it's coked up young lads who just want to see people kicking the shit out of each other over here. Like, so, I think they need to see that a little bit, and also like they need to show what their thing is a little bit more. That there is a bit of a difference in what they're trying to sell, and to even just highlight that. But how you express that, I don't know. But it is different, and it's cool. I enjoy it more, to be honest.
I have a question. I didn't know if I'd ask it or not, but I think you've been very open with things, so I'm going to ask it, right? So Octagon, it's in front of 58,000 people coming up, and they've had many big shows like that. What's the money like? Is the question basically? Like, because when you're selling that, you know, when you're selling that many tickets, good. Yeah,
it has the potential to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm getting paid less than I got paid with Bellator, which look, it's not insignificant, but like, it's a bit of shit to have to take a pay cut when you've been on a win streak. But I know what other guys are getting paid. And I know there's like, look, 58,000 tickets, people are paying. So like there's money being generated here. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like I see it as a very sustainable model, and a model that's going to make money for everybody. As long like you go in, you put on the show, there is money there. But right now I'm getting paid less than I got paid with Bellator.
Was that Bellator kind of, and this sounds bad, but like not overpaying, let's say that, because I remember that time when Bellator, like they signed a lot of Irish people, and you were on very good contracts at the time. I remember speaking to you specifically, and you were saying that to me, and I remember talking to one of the Bellator execs afterwards, and they were like saying we couldn't have kept that going, even though we were selling out the 3 Arena and a lot of money. I know you can take that with a pinch of salt, maybe, although look what happened to Bellator after, so maybe not. Do you think those were kind of the good times that might, unless you like become obviously the champion and you're at the top of the card, that might be hard to see again, for not just for you but for a lot of the people who are earning that big money in Bellator?
I see, look, you're getting into other things, and like things that have more to do with executives and different people than, I'm not privy to all the figures, so I don't know what sort of revenue these guys are generating. But at the same, like, if you look at the UFC, who have to publish things, less of a percentage of earnings of like what's been generated revenue-wise is going to the athletes than most other sports. I think with Bellator and the PFL and the likes, it's probably slightly different in the fact that I don't think they're probably generating anywhere near as much as they could be potentially. And I think a lot of that is based on how you like sell your product and how you build your product and how you promote your product. And look, like, I'm not a fucking salesman for Octagon here, but it's one thing that I do feel like they do quite well. They create a narrative. They get people invested. And that's something even I feel like the UFC has actually done a pretty shit job of recently, of like, they're just letting a guy who's like, oh, well, he's big on social media, he's a star, we'll promote him. It's like, okay, but there's some really interesting characters out there that people would buy into if they knew their fucking story. And it's your job as a promoter to go and sell that story, to show people, to be like, here's this guy's fucking, he's tapped in the head and he's going doing something special that nobody else is doing anymore. Like, sell that, show that. That's what people will buy into. And in fairness, like, you know, the fucking headliner on the card that I'm about to fight on, this guy, Christian Youngworth, like, not trying to shit on him, but the guy's not an amazing fighter, right? Just from watching the promo videos for the few fights that I've been invested, you know, I now give a shit about this guy's fight. Like, because he's a mad character and he's just a unique fella. He calls himself the Last Celt, and it's like there's a buzz in it, like, and I'm just kind of like, why do I give a fuck about this guy? He's nowhere near as good as like a Sean O'Malley, you know, or any of these guys. But I actually give a shit, and I'd probably watch his fight before I'd watch UFC card now, which is weird because like there's some incredible fighters on those cards, but I don't know anything about them, and I'm not invested in them at all. So like, yeah, I feel like, look, the business model here is sustainable. To my, like, who the fuck am I? You know, I'm just some guy coming in looking at all this from the outside who has a bit of experience in the industry. But like, from a business point of view, it seems like they're building things the right way. And to me, it looks like there's a hell of a lot of opportunity ahead of us as long as you go in there and you smash guys and you promote it well.
Yeah. I get back to that guy in a second, but I have to ask you because about the industry, and like a big talk of mine recently has been Danny McCormack and trying to get into the UFC and all that. And you've been in that situation yourself, dealing with Mick Maynard and all. Can you not to burn any bridges here, but like what is or feel free to burn bridges if you like. What's that situation like? It's, and I know I spoke to you at the time about it, but it must be so frustrating.
I just don't know what they want. It seems like, and I'm not trying to shit on them, but like, it seems like being a good fighter doesn't really matter that much anymore. It's like, if you're the right guy, or like, I don't even know, because some of the things that I would have thought of, like, well, they're not going to get a guy like that in, and then they get some like 34-year-old who's like 7-2, but he just happens to be in the right place, and like they give some guy a call whose manager knows that guy, and then boom, he's in. And then you see someone like Danny there who went out and put on an amazing performance 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, beat this girl that she's not even really supposed to beat, and doesn't get a chance out of it. And it's a bit like, come on, like, you know, I don't know. I genuinely don't understand it. And any answer I could give you would just be some theory, but I don't get it. I don't know.
I've heard over the last while that, like, I've heard three things, right? If you're not undefeated, well, actually four things. If you're not undefeated, you're not getting signed. If you're over 30, you're not getting signed. If you're not finishing people, you're not getting signed. And do you know what I heard recently? If you have a loss in PFL or Bellator, they're not signing you now either. Like, that's crazy. And you've met some of that, haven't you? Like, because they were saying, like, well, yeah, you were smashing lads and winning decisions, and then they were like, oh, no, we're not signing them.
But then I can get, so like, I was originally told by my new manager that, yeah, I can get you in, no problem. And then it became a thing of like, oh, I just had a chat with Mick Maynard. Yeah, they're not looking at guys over 32 anymore, this type of thing. But then afterwards, I see guys over 32 getting signed. So I don't know. And man, I'm not going to waste too much time thinking about all that shit. I have an opportunity ahead of me, and that's what I'm focused on right now. And like, here's the thing. Even like within this contract, I have a buyout clause. And if they came for me, technically I could go. I'll be honest, fighting in front of 58,000 fans in Frankfurt, it's a pretty fucking amazing experience. I'm really genuinely very excited about that. Like, if this was a 10-10 UFC fight to go and fucking fight in the Apex, I don't know if I'd be that excited. Right, and like, look, I'm not saying I wouldn't take the chance if it came or whatever, but like, the buzz I'm getting training for this and the opportunity that feels like ahead of me and like the possibilities that are in front of me right now and what I can see that can happen, that's genuinely getting me properly G'd up. I'm not saying other things wouldn't, but like, I don't know if it would have the same emotional resonance with me. I don't know. Like, I'd have to be in that situation to tell you, to be honest. But like, I'm trying to be as fucking upfront and honest as possible. And I'm like, Jesus, this is pretty fucking, like, the potential here seems big to me. And like, even the fact that they actually seem to give a fuck about you as a character and as a person, and the fact that like, you're not just some like, oh, Will Fleury, 12-3 fighter guy coming in, blah, 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 you know, and it's not some generic bullshit. It's like, no, this is actually who I am. I get to show you what I'm actually about. And Octagon are going to promote me as who I really am. Like, it's Will fucking Fleury. It's this guy. He's a little bit fucking tapped in the head. Like, he's going to come in and kick the shit out of a lot of Central European lads. Like, you know, that's fucking cool to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I get the same buzz out of the other shit. I don't know. Like, I can't tell you, to be honest.
Is it kind of a horses for courses thing? Because, like, as you described there, that does suit your personality, to be fair. But I feel like a lot, maybe not a lot of people, but more than ever before, of like the UFC dream, quote unquote, is becoming less of a thing. I feel like people are like before, if you're an MMA fighter, and you probably were in this situation, you start off as an MMA fighter, and you're like, if I don't get to the UFC, that's it. I'm a failure. That like my, but that's not really the case anymore. Look at like a guy like Mohamed Khalidov, who was offered the UFC and turned it down because he's on such money and he's such a star over there. I'm sure like Carlos, I know Carlos Mamon has been in the UFC. I'm not mistaken, but like a lad like that or a lad like yourself, like let's say you go and win the title and fight for 4 or 5 times. There'll be no need for it. Like, is it it's really a change in landscape that way. But not. It was always there, I suppose, where you could earn the money or get an opportunity if you were lucky. But now I feel like the mental side of it, to like, I remember Michael Chandler being asked about it before, and he said, I had to sign for the UFC because I'd be on a train or, I'd be at a party and someone asked me what I am, and I'm an MMA fighter. Like, oh, you fight in the UFC? And then he's like, actually, no, I don't. I don't fight in the UFC. I feel like that has changed. That mentality has changed a little bit. Or has it? Am I wrong?
I don't know. I can't tell you, but I know from like being a kid growing up training in MMA. I say a kid, I was 20 when I started training, but like, obviously originally you're like, man, I want to get in the UFC. Of course you do. And that, like, it's a huge thing. And even still, that has an emotional resonance with me. And like, I'm not going to lie, if I fucking retire without ever fighting there, yeah, that will bother me a bit. Like, but does it like define my effort? Does it define who I end up being? Nah, man, like, my goal right now is to leave as much of a legacy from fighting as I can, right? And that like the opportunity to go out and pursue that is the really fun part of it. So like, it's not the actual thing. Like winning a fight's great, but like it's the being the guy who's going to go out and do everything he can to win that fight. That's what satisfies me in life. The bigger the challenge, the better. The more you kind of jump up to that thing. If they're like the best guys in the world are supposedly in the UFC, cool. I want to go there. I want to fight those guys. And even the fact that like I grew up watching that thing, there's an emotional thing there, right? But if it's like, here, man, you're going to get really well paid to go over and beat the shit out of guys in Central Europe in these big stadiums, fucking amazing. Great, cool. Like, I don't know, like, look, even they're kind of tough questions, to be honest, but like, I would like to think that if I go and do that for a couple of years and I really do special things with it, it won't bother me. Right now, I'm in a position where, like, yeah, it probably will piss me off a little bit. But I can only tell you at the end of it all how I actually feel about it. And all I can do in the meantime is be as fucking good as I can be and go in and do special things every time I get in the cage.
You mentioned legacy there, and I was listening to your interview you did with Andy a couple of months ago, and obviously after the drug test failure, and I spoke to you at the time as well, and you were a little bit, I don't know if worried the word, but like about the reaction from the Irish media and... it's probably people close to you and and fighters around the place as well. It's been obviously a few months now. What has the blowback been? What has the reaction been? Like, has it kind of blown over, do you think? Or is it, have you felt that?
Like, you'd probably be as good a judge of this as I would. Like, it's kind of been hard to tell. Cause I think, to be honest, at the time, it seemed to make very little of a wave. There just wasn't that much media attention around it. And I obviously didn't really promote it or talk about it too much, which... maybe in hindsight, it's kind of I don't know what I should have done, to be honest. Like, it's hard to judge all that. Like, there are people who know the crack and there are people who don't. And like, what I will say is, I was in a situation where, 4 or 5 other guys within that tournament of 10. So there was 6 out of 10 that tested positive in the end. I don't think the other 4 guys were...
Slight technical difficulties there, but we're back with Fleury. Well, you were just saying about the drug test failure. Obviously, a load of other people at the same time in PFL kind of failed, and you were talking about the kind of the reaction from the Irish media as well. I didn't really see much of it, to be honest. And like, oh shit, we're dead again. We will be back with Will. Give us a second. Right, we're back again. Right in the middle of the drug test question. Yeah. Will, fuck's sake!
I feel like God doesn't want you to ask these sort of questions, Sean.
I was downloading the picture of you and everything to put over the video, so it would be great. But yeah,
I better look super juicy in that one with the shoulder veins popping and everything.
Yeah, these things happen in MMA. But yeah. Anyway, just one last thing. Like, I see a lot of people saying, and then, like, in Irish MMA, teammates of yourself saying, if you get caught for drugs, you should be banned for life and stuff like that. Has there been any of that, like, in the gym or with people you meet or anything? Because I know, like. And you've been very open about it. Obviously, you spoke in that interview with Andy, and I think that's part of the reason why there hasn't been as much blowback, because you just came out and you admitted it straight away, and I think that's what people like. Even you were on that video on the Premier MMA show there a couple of weeks ago, and you kind of said it offhand. It's not something you're hiding or anything. And I do think people like that. But in private, has there been anything, or I know because that was something you were worried about. Has it all been okay?
Yeah, by and large, look, one person, and I admire that guy, a young lad who does jiu-jitsu. It's in a different gym. Like, I met him. It's a guy who I know well personally. I'm not going to name him just for the sake of it, but like, he came over to me and was like, "Oh man, I was really good when I heard about that." And he was like, "I don't know why you did that." And I felt really like, fuck, that, but otherwise, no. And like, I went away and I thought about that for a good while, and I sent him a long message later that night, kind of been like, this was my reasoning behind all of that. And like, I kind of nearly felt like an onus to not justify my behavior, but at least like try and give him some sort of an insight into what led me to that decision, if you get me. Um, that was probably the most kind of emotionally taxing thing of it all. Like, look, obviously it's shit. Like, it's not something I ever wanted to fucking happen, and it's not something I'm gonna go and fucking promote or to. It's something that I would have rather not had to have dealt with in my career, but it has happened. And look, I may as well be as open about it as possible, as I can be within the constraints of what the fucking thing is, if you get me. Because like, if I start talking too openly, a lot of other people are affected, and there's a lot of like, it's a lot of shit associated with all of that that's like negative for other people that I don't want to fucking go and bring on other people, like, for the sake of it. So I suppose I'm kind of treading that line of trying to be as honest as possible and kind of give a young lad who might be in a similar position as much of an insight into what this thing is as possible, and allow them to be as informed to make their own fucking decisions in life going forward as possible. But like, at the same time, man, I'm like, look, I'll be honest, I kind of feel lucky that I don't give that too much of, like, I've never been someone who was that bothered about what anybody else thought of me. I wasn't doing this for the sake of like trying to be loved by other people, or there's a bit of that obviously in everything, but like, I'm kind of like, yeah, fuck you, I'm still pretty proud of who I am and what I'm doing, like. And I made that decision before, like, I'd come to terms with all of the other bad side shit to that before I decided to do it. So I dealt with that shit in my own head of like, this now means you're the guy who didn't want to go down this road, and now you're going down this road. I had all of that before I ever got caught. And to me, getting caught was just like, well, fuck, you got caught, like. And it sucks, obviously, because like financially it hurts your career a lot, whatever. But like, from a point of view of like what everybody else felt about it, I think it's way more important about like me being okay with me and like my own actions around the whole thing. And I'm not like, look, I can't say I can completely justify fucking everything that's happened. Can't. I'm not a perfect human being. Never fucking claimed I was. But at the same time, just look at the fucking sport we're in. Like,
100%.
so I don't know. Look, it's shit. That happened. I'm gonna do the best I can for the rest of my career.
I think in myself and other people in mixed martial arts coverage have really changed our views on it, to be honest. And like, obviously I'm still asking the question and all, because a lot of people do care about it. Do I myself care? Not too much. And that's just not me saying that in front of you here. I've said it on the podcast and everything like that. But
oh yeah,
there, there are people like, did you have to sit down with anyone? I know John has been very, very strong before about being anti-PEDs or your family or anything like that. Did you have to sit down with those people and kind of go, look, I made a mistake, I want to move forward? Or were those conversations had at the time?
Yeah. And like, my family was probably the most awkward one. Like, sitting down with your parents, they'd already booked tickets to Atlanta. And then I had to ring them and be like, well, you know the way you booked over there? Well, there's no need now.
Oh, fuck.
And that was pretty gut-wrenching, to be honest. But I was just amazed, like, they kind of, like, my mum just was like, did you need to do that? And I was like, I felt like I had to win. And she was like, Asher, does it matter that much? And I was like, yeah, it did to me at this point in time, like, because it was a lot financially on the line as well, like. And she was like, fair enough, so. And, like, she was pretty just open-minded. Well, I wouldn't say open-minded, but just, like, I suppose she looked at it from a very different perspective than I'd look at it. But she didn't care as much about the social shit out of it. It was more like, you're healthy, you're okay, did you have to go and do that thing? Because like there's going to be repercussions out of that now that you're going to like that are going to be shit to experience. But they're the people I really gave a shit about. And like, you know, there's a lot of people whose opinion I do care about who like probably have a negative opinion on the whole thing, and that's sad. And like, that's life in a way. You chose this thing, you went down that road, you suffer the consequences of going down that road. So like, in one way, maybe I'm a good example of why you shouldn't fuck around with anything. And like, but there's plenty of examples of guys who fucked around with some shit and done very well in the sport and haven't suffered the repercussions of it. So like, make your own mind up about that, like, you know. So like,
100%.
that's all I can be in this. I'm just that example, I suppose.
The last thing on it, and this is a we kind of transition back because I do want to talk about the fight. This fight is also at light heavyweight, and you know, you said in that interview with Andy, a big part of taking the PEDs was because you needed to kind of gain the weight to get to light heavyweight. A lot of people would ask, like, should you be back fighting at middleweight now because of that? What's your thoughts around that?
I feel like I could go back and fight at middleweight. So like, one of the things, they're doing a game changer tournament next year, and like, I feel like it's pretty fucking hard for me to keep this weight on. So if it came to a point where like I got a good offer to go back down to middleweight, yeah, great, I would take that in a heartbeat. And like, who knows, wherever the bigger opportunity is, I'll make it work, if you know what I mean. And like, that's on me to go and figure out how to do that. But because I've had that kind of cycle, like, or the course of hormones through my body, I can get there, I can do that, I can be athletic, and like, I feel it's just like wherever the bigger opportunity is, I'll go now. Sorry, what was the question exactly?
The question was, the question is basically, are you still taking the steroids? Are you off them kind of thing? Or like,
oh, no, yeah, of course, no. Like, here's the thing, like, there's guys who I'm going to be fighting who are on some shit, fairly obviously. Within that, like, it's all like, I've already gotten done for my shit, and I'm kind of like, I want to avoid as much of that as possible from now on.
What's the testing like in Octagon as well? Is there much testing in Octagon, or is it very different from other places you've been?
It's not different in the fact that like, look, you know, yeah, like,
only like really the UFC and then PFL for like a while are the only ones that have really, like, it's very expensive as well to do it for especially for a place that's growing like that. Like, that's,
I will say another thing as well, and this is probably something like, look, I really didn't want to get into all this shit again, to be honest, but like, the vast majority of sports, there's a hell of a lot of performance enhancing
100%.
usage going on, right? But because you play for a team, it's not in their interests. You know, the league, the team, everybody has a vested financial interest in not catching and not getting you. I'm not saying there's no testing in those leagues, but it's designed to like, hey guys, come on, let's play ball here, let's all do it. When it's individuals and it's things like this, where it's an individual cyclist or an individual fighter, or, you know, even in the Olympics, guys are genuinely, you know, there's less of a vested interest. And even like, if you're in the Olympics and you come from the right country, like, people go off and do their own research on this thing. There's a hell of a lot of examples of like test results being suppressed. I know a hell of a lot of stuff now that I didn't know when I got caught about like what happens when guys get caught, and how few tests actually become public, and how few positive tests become public. And even within things like the NFL, there is no public testing. It's like, yeah, they have testing. Yeah, cool. But you get placed on an inactive roster. And that could mean you're injured. That could mean a hell of a lot of things. And it's not in anybody's interest to disclose the results of that. And like, even within the NFL, it's madness, because like, as soon as you're like, that's not in your system anymore, you're back in. And look, like, who the fuck am I to judge anyone else?
Well, the fight, Pavel Langer. Do you know what I love as well? I went to the Octagon website to look up like the roster or whatever, and the rankings. You're ranked number 4, Pavel. Ranked
3.
Number 1. Is it 3 now? Oh, sorry, I thought it said
number 3. Yeah.
Is it 3?
Don't be doing me dirty, Sean.
I thought it said 4 last night. Anyway, we'll double check that again.
Oh, maybe I have. I don't know. Last time I
might have moved down. Anyway. But Vimola the champ, and obviously Pavel ranked number 1 up there as well. This is a number 1 contender fight. So I know you said it earlier on, but like, it's down on paper. You win this fight, you'll be number 1 contender. You'll be fighting the champ. That must be massive for you to know that that's what's right in front of you.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, it's incredibly exciting. That's what I was talking about earlier when you were saying like, oh, will it be a failure if you don't get to the UFC? Man, go and win a belt in front of 50,000 people or whatever it ends up being if I fight for a belt over. Like, and here's the thing, that's definitely there. If I go in and perform to anywhere near my level, yeah, I'm beating these guys. I'm a very high level fighter. I'm like, like I made this point to an interview recently of just like, I don't know who you put 4 ounce gloves on me and put me in a cage in Ireland or anywhere, like, definitely within this island. I don't think there's an individual in this island that if you put me in a cage with, I don't beat the shit out of them. So like, I want to find out for the rest of the world as well, you know. And if they can get high level guys in there, great, go do that, please. But right now, I don't see anybody I can't beat. Like within that roster, I look like that guy's the number one contender. Everyone thinks I'm going to beat the shit out of him. Vermola's the champion now, yeah? They reckon Vermola will retire before he fights me. That's the situation we're in, like. So, like, then it's going to be, okay, who's left? Like, who are the other two? And it was supposed to be Alex Popik and Jurek Montagnac were supposed to fight each other. Montagnac just got injured there. So, I think Popik's going to be in Munich in December. And I was saying to the lads, I was like, look, if you want to just put me against Popik for the title in December after I win the number one contender spot, if Vermola retires. If Vermola doesn't retire, I would fucking love to fight Vermola. You know, I trained with him in London 10 years ago, and he was a prick, and I'd love to beat the shit out of him. So, like, let's do that. There's a lot of really exciting things ahead here. That's the thing, like, so, like, I'm very pumped up for what could happen.
And I feel like you're kind of the new meat in the division as well, because I was watching last night. Pavel's fought both of the lads you just mentioned.
Yeah.
B Popek lost to Vermola. Yeah, so like if you are to fight either of them, obviously that would make a lot of sense as well. The last fight against Daniel, just before we move on to Pavel again, I feel like it was a different Will Fleury. I feel like, look, from the start you came out and you did what you did. You put big meat him in on top of him, tried to pull him down and destroy him on the ground as the raw bastardness. But then when you hurt him obviously towards the end of the first, and in the second, I feel like, have you ever done that before, where you came out and you just like went fucking toe to toe with him, basically? I'm like, right, you can hit me, but I'm gonna fucking hit you harder and I'm gonna finish you here. I feel like that was a little bit different. Is it? Did you just get carried away, or is that something that you're going to do more now?
Like, look, on the last 3-4 years, I've focused a hell of a lot more on my striking. I've changed stance. I'm southpaw now. Like, in the middle of my career, I had a period where I wasn't really hurting people that much. That's changed drastically, and I just haven't had the chances to play it. Chris Jocko was a really awkward guy to fight, and I knew that fight was going to be a bit weird. But, like, up to that, if you look at it, I dropped everyone I fought for the 4 fights before that, and I was hurting them, but I wasn't finishing them. Now, I realized eventually, because I was working with Owen Pluck, a guy in our performance team, he was like, look at your stance. You're not generating full force through your hips here. So from that, I started to actually like change and develop my stance a little bit more. And yeah, look, I have the ability to knock the shit out of people, especially having put on a little bit of weight. I just have a fucking, like, timing is obviously everything. Doesn't matter how much power you have if your timing's wrong. But like, I've always had pretty decent timing. Now I have the ability to hit guys and finish things. In that fight, you're saying like, I went out and I was a little bit wild. When I took him down, which like, I was a bit nervous before the fight, obviously, with going in with the broken hand, and it was a weird situation. I kind of hadn't felt like that in a while, but like, I probably should have focused more on the striking straight away. But it's just a funny mentality to be like, your hand's absolutely bollocks, but just swinging at him is probably the best way of finishing this. Like, um, but once I took him down, I realized like all of your grips, because I hadn't trained for 2.5, like I couldn't train for 2.5 weeks. I was just like doing assault bike stuff, but my grip and like any MMA style stuff I hadn't been able to do for a couple of weeks. So it was funny, like when I took him down, I just realized like I'm not really going to be able to get grips to submit this guy. And I realized that while I had his back, it was just like there's too much pain associated with grabbing anything here. And then I was like, right, just club him with this hand. So once we got back up, it was just like, okay, I'm finishing you with this hand, like I'm clubbing you with this thing. And then I did, and I dropped him at the end of the first. So once I came out in the second, I was like, okay, I'm coming at you again. But like, that was a very weird, unique situation. But in general, man, when I spar these days, I'm knocking the shit out of a guy. Like, it's
I'm aggressive. I have a come forward stance. My whole style is based on coming forward. Like, look, when I was over in Vegas and I was sparring Strickland, I'm not the guy going backwards in that spar, like, you know. And like, in fairness, he's good. Like, he's good defensive fighter. He's like quite like tactical in a lot of ways. But we had some fucking absolute wars, and like, even with everybody I was with over there, like, I'm a guy who goes for it. I go forward. I make the fight happen. And that hasn't always been my style, but that's definitely my style now. And like, I'm good at it. I'm really fucking good at it. That's why I'm saying, like, look, I don't know who on this island beats the shit out of me. I genuinely don't. I beat the fuck out of everyone I train with. Like, so it's kind of, it's let me go as far as I want to. Like, I have the ability to go and do special things. I feel like I'm getting a chance to go in and show that now. And as long as I keep getting the opportunity to go in and show that, I'm going to do really fucking special things. And I'm just really grateful to be getting that opportunity. And I know, look, I've gone through a lot of shit, but I'm here. I'm not fucking dead. I have a legacy to leave. And I want that to be as positive as possible. I want to go and do as much special shit as I can in the time I have left.
How good is it for you to have Karen Moore, who obviously fought for the title not too long ago, Johnny Walker, one of the top light heavyweights in the UFC as well, like the three of you in three different organizations, like you're very unlikely to ever, you know, come up against fighting each other. It must be so fantastic to have that as, you know, training partners for you, but for them as well. It must be brilliant to have that, because it's like, as you said, there isn't that many middleweights, light heavyweights, heavyweights in Ireland, in Europe, in Ireland or the UK in general. That must just matter from heaven for someone like you.
So we've had that for about 5 years now. It's like since 2019, Johnny's been consistently in Ireland, which has been amazing. It's been a great period. Like, we've all developed a lot under that. Like, and to be honest, I'm probably the most like driven for us all to be training together constantly, if you know what I mean. But it seems like right now we're not getting that in as much as we used to. And I might have to start traveling a bit more, and like I might have to start kind of sussing out other big guys around the world to go and train with, do things with. And like, I'm gonna, because like I love the lads. They're incredible. Like, it was brilliant the last 5 years. Genuinely, like, I feel like everybody benefited from that so much. But it seems like that might kind of be not there as much anymore, which is a real pity. But at the same time, man, that means like there's opportunities to go out there, to travel the world, to go and pursue this thing elsewhere. And like, I fucking love Ireland. I love training SPG. I love like the buzz of like kind of knowing your training partners and having somebody that you're close with that you fucking truly understand, and that like, you know, that they're not trying to really go like, there's nothing personal in it. Basically, it's just like, yeah, today that guy bust up your knee a bit, but he didn't fucking mean to. Like, I love that. But at the same time, the opportunity to go and do fucking training camps elsewhere and go like to the likes of Vegas or go wherever, you know, like, you know, wherever there's high level big guys and they're willing to train, I'm probably not going to fight them. Cool, I want to go there.
Is there a reason for that, or is it just because at this stage of their career the lads are fighting a little bit less? Obviously, when you get towards the very top, or is there anything else behind it? Is that just it?
No, I don't like. It's just the way things are going, as far as I can see. You know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I want to ask you again about Pavel, because you said, you know, you're a go forward fighter. From watching him, he seems very much like a counter striker, a guy that looks faster, I think, than he is. You know, when you watch him for like your 3 minutes, you might think, he's not that fast, and then someone comes in and then he fucking hits him hard on the way in. Is that a danger for you coming into this fight?
I think he's an easy guy to underestimate, but if you break him down extensively, like, there's a lot of holes, and then you see solid fighters who exploit those holes, and then somehow seem to blow their load and get sucked into a close fight again. So he's very, like, in all of his fights against anybody high level, he seems to get badly hurt, look like he's going to be out on his feet, and then manage to survive and come back into the fight. And he's actually probably better after he's been hurt. So he doesn't start the fight that well. He gets badly hurt. Then he kind of responds to it very well and like stays kind of logical. And his technique actually seems to stay kind of more high level and more like solid as he gets quite tired and as he's like within the fight. So mentally, I think he's quite strong. Physically, he's probably quite strong. Technically, he has deficiencies. And like, I wouldn't like, yeah, he looks slow. I don't think he's super slow. I wouldn't be relying on like, you know, he's going to be not able to touch you at all. But at the same time, I'm somebody who like does a hell of a lot of work on like reaction time and like, you know, obviously the more pads you do, the more whatever you do, you should be damn fast. Like, you know, reaction speed is a hell of a lot of sport in general. So like I would back myself to be a hell of a lot faster than them and be getting to those shots first, if you know what I mean. And look, if I do my job at all properly, this fight should be over pretty quickly. There's 50-odd thousand people coming to this, yeah, and like people are after forking out fucking good money, and Octagon have given me a really good fucking opportunity here. I'm fighting the number one contender in my second fight. I do feel a little bit of an onus to kind of like go and entertain people with this. It might not be very long, but man, it's going to be fucking good. Like, you know, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to bring that violence. So like, if Pavel can go and weather that and like take them shots, which he does seem to have a pretty good chin, then cool, go weather that. I've got fucking 3 rounds of big shots in me, like, so like, I could see this being like, if the guy's got that level of a chin, it's going to be a hell of a bloodbath and a hell of a fucking entertaining match. But I could see it being over pretty quick, man. Especially with like, I've been doing a lot of work with Owen Pluck and High Performance Team, a lot of work with Davy Jones on the pads as well. I know like both of them from different points of view have really helped my game. And in a way, like this is why I'm still here. I feel nearly it'd be a fucking travesty if I didn't get to show some of the shit I've been working on and like putting a hell of a lot of work into for the last couple of years. And I don't feel like I have really yet. Like, look, I dropped Score, I dropped a few other guys, but like, lad, the level of talent I have in comparison to what I've fucking shown, you know, like, look, I'm a high level fighter. I think like everyone's expecting me to go in and smash number one contender there, right? But there's so much fucking more within me that I'm like so excited to get out there and show. And even like the mentality I have towards this kind of towards competition in general, I fucking love competing. I love competing at a high level, and like I'd nearly rather be the guy who's like massive underdog, who everyone thinks I'm gonna go in there and get smashed. Cause like I'll always be the guy, like I'll back the fuck out of myself in them situations. So look, everyone they have signed, I know I can fucking beat those guys. If they sign somebody like there was talk of Gustafsson or someone like that getting signed, I would fucking love that fight. That fight in some stadium in Europe, or even bring it back to the Tree Arena, something like that. That'd be incredible. That's like hair in the back of my neck shit. Like, that's like, yeah, okay, fuck the UFC, fuck all that. I want this ahead of that, like, you know, and I feel like there's a lot of really exciting shit here. And I know there's been a slightly negative tone to a lot of stuff here, but like, to me, the reason I'm still here and still in this shit is because like, there's a hell of a lot of really positive shit that can happen. And like, I feel like as long as the Irish MMA media and as long as the landscape, like, people are willing to buy into that, if you know what I mean, then fuck yeah, I'm 100% like, I want to go and do it, like, and I want to go and do it, like, obviously for me first, but all like, you need people to be a little bit invested too. So like, get invested, you cunts, right? Yeah, I want to go and do something special, and if we can bring it back to Ireland, fucking amazing. You know,
I think Augustusson fighting the Tree Arena, that sounds like money to me. Anyway,
it would be class, wouldn't it?
Be brilliant.
Like, look, he's old, like he's a very, very good fighter. I respect his style a lot. I think like that guy striking for a while was the highest level amongst like big fighters. You know, you look at like him and John Jones. Obviously, John Jones was incredible at what he's gone and done. And you know, I do think he's genuinely the GOAT as well. But like you look at the level he was able to get to. Yeah, there's a whole other aspect to that thing, isn't there?
Yeah. we leave that one. We leave that one.
Yeah.
Here, come here. I have to ask you this, right? When you signed up to fight a fella called Langer, as a fella like myself who went to college out of Cork, did you get any text messages from the Cork crowd and stuff down there?
Yeah, but it's pretty fucking hard to make a good joke about it, to be honest.
Yeah,
because like he's Langer, so how do you smash Langer if you like this in?
I get you, yeah.
Like, it's a lot easier to be like you're getting smashed by a Langer. So I've had a lot of my mates slagging me about that type of shit.
Yeah.
But like from a promotion point of view, you're like he's just a twat, he's a Langer, he's whatever. But like
you're gonna have to start calling him a Langer rather Langer just in the middle of press conferences and stuff.
So just Pavel is a Langer, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I like keep it simple. But yeah, speaking of Cork, geez, you come a long way since fighting Johnny Jitsu down in Cork in a cage boxing match to 58,000 people.
Oh yeah. Jesus Christ, yeah. I forgot about that.
I think a lot of people want to forget about that, but we will. Maybe that's a story for another day as well.
Irish MMA lore, you know.
Yeah, I was there cage side, like, make it stop. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Look, that'll be one of those ones in 50 years you'll get to say you're at, you know.
Yeah, one for
Nobody
the
will
book.
ever know if it truly happened. It'll just be a myth.
I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere. Anyway, we'll keep that hidden. Anyway, Will, thank you very much. Best of luck in the fight, and go on, smash the langer.
Will do.
So bad.
All right.
Thank you for watching this video on SevereMMA.com. For more wonderful content, please click the like, subscribe, and notification bell, and follow us on these social medias.